A democracy is nothing more than mob rule, where 51% of the people may take away the rights of the other 49. These are the words of Thomas Jefferson. Democracy is a word tossed around in America quite a bit, but it seems to have lost its definition. When asked, most people will tell you our government is a democracy. That's true to an extent, but what most fail to recognize is that we are a constitutional republic. That means we have a representative form of government where the people elect representatives through a democratic process, who then use the Constitution as a guideline to govern the nation. With the recent state of the nation, the question arises, has democracy failed as a political practice? In the old days, in the beginning of our country, the only people allowed to vote were landowners. The vice president was the second place guy in the presidential race. It wasn't until recently these were changed. Could it be allowing the uneducated voter to vote that causes democracy to fail? Could it be that we rely on our role models to tell us how to vote, instead of educating ourselves, that causes democracy to fail? If you look at other forms of government, communism, monarchies, socialism, fascism, etc., the evidence is clear. The only form of government that has brought forth a nation the likes of which the world has never seen in a relatively short amount of time is the United States. The big, non-democratic powerhouses have all fallen. The USSR crumbled because capitalism allowed us to outspend them. England and Europe, although monarchies do still exist, do have a representative form of government modeled after ours. Nazi Germany collapsed because egotism got in the way of the ruling party's success and our resolve to stand up against them for what is just and right. The only powerhouse left standing after all of these failed ideologies is the United States. In terms of age, we're a very young nation. In our 237 years of existence, we have become the richest and most powerful country in the world. Some contribute this to God and our form of government, some to both. Others hate us because of our success. The world relies on our currency as the world currency. Democracies have been modeled after ours. We can single-handedly win wars. It would those seem as time continues, we have a nation have slowly started to decline. Our military, although still very powerful, seems to be lacking the will and the heart to win wars. If you look at history, the last war that was a decisive victory for the United States was World War II. Korea was a stalemate. Vietnam was a loss. The conflicts in the Middle East were losses. Was all this due to a failing democracy? Our currency is plummeting. Our debt is skyrocketing. Our spiritualism is declining. Our patriotism is waning. Is this due to democracy failing? With the world seeming to be drifting more and more into socialism, it would seem they are abandoning democracy as well. With all of these things happening, it's only logical as Americans to think, is it time to move on to something new? Is democracy failing? But is socialism really something new? Is democracy really failing? With leaving democracy, will we in fact become a better world? A Pew Research Center poll shows that Americans aged 18 to 29 have a positive view of socialism. This will be the generation that will be the future leaders of our country. This poll reflects our shift in politics. Why the shift? Overall, this new generation of people that are coming into power grew up basically with things handed to them. It might sound cruel, but this is true. The previous generations have made this country into what we have now. And so their sense of entitlement is big, while their sense of earning is low. This all reflects the shift towards socialism, because socialism in its very nature is an entitlement type of government, where you rely on the government to give to you, to work for you. Is socialism better? It looks good on the outside, what with promises of free healthcare, free food, rainbows and unicorns. The fact is, this style of government was the reason of the collapse of the nations I previously mentioned. In order for the shift to socialism to work in Europe, all European nations had to unite under one economy, where the rich states have to support the small states, and in some cases even be absorbed into the bigger states. With this style of government, we rely on the government for so much more, and since the government relies on the people for income, it takes from the people. Socialism isn't anything new. It's just a rehash of old failed policies. The only proven style of government thus far has been the American form of democracy. The fact is, democracy has not failed. We have failed. We don't take our right to vote seriously. We don't educate ourselves on whom and what to vote for, but instead rely on MTV and Hollywood actors to tell us. Democracy can be poisoned in that fashion that Thomas Jefferson stated, where the 51% of socialists rule the 49% of democratic Republicans. Democracy is not perfect, but if used the way it was intended, it can be a very powerful tool where everyone is prosperous.